Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Red Pill Podcast 159. I hope you're all having an amazing weekend out there, regardless of everything that's going on in the world stage. I hope you're safe. I hope you're doing well. It's great to have you here with us, and boy, do we have a lot to cover today. I have so much prepared for you. There will be so much value in today's Red Pill. As usual, the past 3 or 4 podcasts were packed with gnosis, but this one really seals the deal on everything that we've been talking about leading up to what just happened yesterday. So before we get into that, just wanted to do a quick introduction and set this all up. If you are new here, welcome to the Wolfpack. It's so great to have you here with us. If you've yet to get access to the Discord server, just go ahead and send me a direct message here on Patreon with your Discord username, and I will write back to you with a Patreon direct message giving you access to our Discord server. And one thing to mention, because this last week the altcoin voting wasn't so clear to me, so I was still able to pick up the 4 projects that I'll be reviewing. But just for those that are newer here, to let you know a little bit about the system for voting for altcoins every week on these Red Pill podcasts. Basically, all you need to do is in the comments section of this Patreon post, write the name of the project and the ticker symbol of whatever altcoin that you're interested in, but please make sure there's at least 1 year of chart history available on TradingView. And ideally, if it is a chart that is only available on something like CoinTrader Pro, then just go ahead and write the coin, the ticker symbol, and leave the link to the project, because this happens sometimes where we have a lot of votes on something, but it only has about 6 months of data available on TradingView, but then it'll have like 4 years of data available on something like CoinTrader Pro. And I've just been defaulted to this particular software of TradingView. I really like it. I have nothing against any other softwares or other websites out there. It's not the case. It's just what I've become used to, and also it's what I've made my course material in, so it makes it very simple for those that found my work on YouTube or have taken one of my courses and then they get here and they're seeing everything is quite consistent. So when you leave the comment of the altcoin and the ticker symbol, or also the link to the chart if you have the longest chart history available, whatever coins get the most likes, the most thumbs up in the comment section below will be the projects that we select for the next Red Pill podcast. So we had a lot of submissions this week, but not too much voting, and also a lot of repeat coins being added. So 5 people commenting the same project, when what we could be doing is whoever commented it earlier in the comment section could have been given 5 thumbs up, and that would make it a lot easier for all of us. And that ranking system and what I just shared is something we've been doing for 3 years now. So that's the best way, and it's been working really smoothly. Just need you all to follow those little tips and tricks, make it a little bit easier for me. And then as for what we're going to be covering today, it will be Immutable X, Compound, Flare, and a quick recap on Jupiter. Some of you who got a notification yesterday in our Discord might have noticed that I did a new venture capital position in Jupiter. Due to the year that we're in being the year of 2024 and the Hebrew year that reduces down to 24 and the 24 symbolism in the Jupiter symbol. And that is so key. And I feel that if I missed the initial wave up, this might be a solid entry for what we're heading into next. So for now, in the short term, and this is nothing new to you guys, but in the short term, we should be more in a corrective phase leading into this upcoming full moon. You all knew that. We had a lot more pointing in that direction than otherwise, and it's very good that we're doing what we're doing right now, believe it or not. And that's what probably sets the Wolfpack apart from many other communities, because a lot of people, they are just ultra bullish all the time. It's only bullish. And then when the market flips bullish, they seem to be doing really well. But the anticipation of pullbacks is not really discussed. And here I don't have any energy for this bull or bear conversation. I'm a wolf. I'm following the moon. I'm following this month by month in a very particular way and keeping my emotions completely out of it. I'm not picking a side here, not worshiping any one project along the way. I'm just navigating this as calmly and as clear-headed as I possibly can, so that way when it comes time to de-risking or taking profits, I walk away from this with profits, and there is no panic selling or FOMOing or any of that. And now that you've probably been here for a long enough time to notice, this demeanor, as of yesterday especially, pays off, because a lot of FOMO was happening over the last month especially. Market was in extreme greed, and a lot of new market participants were buying the local top. And we were warning about this type of energy to kick in eventually because of structure, because of what we typically see cyclically with the traditional markets. And this type of environment we're in right now is very volatile. It only takes, like what happened yesterday, to put some big pressure on very speculative assets. And what's the most speculative asset class of them all? It's cryptocurrency. And of course, altcoins are the most speculative in that conversation. So just a quick reminder, altcoin voting system. You just go into the Patreon comments section below this video, submit the project that you are interested in reviewing. Make sure to include the ticker symbol. Make sure it at least has 1 year of chart history. And if it only has a little bit of chart history on TradingView, but a lot of chart history on something like CoinTrader Pro, feel free to leave a link. And then this way, whatever gets the most votes is what we will be covering in next week's Red Pill podcast. Also today, I will be covering the traditional markets. So I'm going to be doing a recap on the indices, the NASDAQ, Dow Jones, S&P, maybe the Russell 2000. I'm not sure yet, but this is important because of, again, this kind of timeline that we're in right now and what we've been watching happen for the stock market over the past 2 to 3 weeks leading up to right now. And it's playing out exactly how we anticipated. So we need to recap that, because now that we're in this more corrective phase, we all want to know how to take action right now. I'll also be covering precious metals. So we'll be getting into gold and silver as well. So you guys are getting a jam-packed episode today. Really, I tried to cover as much as I possibly can. We'll probably do a little bit of decoding on this current event as well. But let's get into today's podcast. I'm sure many of you heard yesterday, Iran attacked Israel, and this was a significant event in the development of this ongoing conflict. I have brought up this week of April 8th through April 15th, probably a couple hundred times already. Some of you have maybe even become sick of hearing it. I can't blame you. I felt the same way during the Shemitah, the sabbatical year, which was 2021 through 2022. I was talking about that for a year before it happened, and then the whole year during it. So trust me, I don't want to repeat myself, but information this valuable and this esoteric and this hidden and rare, it needs to get out there. It needs to be shared. And I've done everything in my power to bring up this particular week of 2024, not only in these podcasts for you guys here, my supporters, and it really means the world to me to have you here, but I hope you all see that I'm very authentic in all of this, because every single podcast, every interview that I'm invited onto, I've been talking about this week of April 8th through April 15th, and some interviews going back a year ago. I've been as transparent about it as possible. I am not hiding anything. And it was just with the intent to help spread awareness, not to push fear or even make any predictions. I'm not here to make predictions. It's just become clear to me that our so-called reality runs on a code, and we've been able to keep our emotions on the sidelines as we analyze this code. So with this event that happened yesterday, it's affected the crypto market clearly. And I think it's time to really start taking the Year of the Dragon analysis seriously if you haven't, especially when you consider how the stock market just closed this week. and it topping out in late March, just like I've been preparing you all for months now, to anticipate the market to initially top out in late March or early April and then correct into April through May and as late as early June, with June being a pivot month and following up with recovery. Also, this isn't even just my personal opinion and analysis. This is essentially what election years are like. You can see that we have this very big red to the upside. Presidential election years are the red candles. That's in the month of March, and then it follows with negative in April, negative in May, and then this kind of stable, neutral June. Big recovery in June and July and August. September and October you got to watch out for, especially this year. I think these are very crucial because of the eclipses that we have. Let me just quickly show you these. So we have over here in 2024, the next eclipse will be a partial lunar eclipse. And then we have that following up a couple weeks later with a very powerful solar eclipse. The reason being is in 1940, this was also the same time of that eclipse. And that's big because that was Rosh Hashanah, the Hebrew New Year, back in 1940. What we notice in the timeline, and there's a timeline here that I've brought up many times, I've been bringing up a lot more lately at least. There's a timeline where we start to see things really ramping up into that like Q4 of 1940, and then throughout 1941 is when it becomes full-scale World War II. Of course, it was considered World War II before 1940 with some trigger events, but it was until America really started to get involved, which took until 1941, where it got everyone talking about it, and the whole world was in this fear mode, and things that used to be at one time were no longer available. Just a completely new world for many. But to get back on track with this whole time frame that we're in now, very, very fascinating to see how it's been going month by month, how we've topped out effectively in March. And then here we are into mid-April. We're starting to get this bearish energy, but I would call this a healthy pullback. I think a lot of people are going to start throwing out the word crash, as I've been hearing people talk about Bitcoin crashing and all this. Nothing is if you look at the C19 chart, what was going on back then, that was a crash. We watched that happen. That was vicious. A lot of altcoins started breaking their absolute lows from 2019 and 2018. So we're not even close to that right now. We'll see how this market opens up tomorrow, though, because that's really the telling of how we're going to hold up when the institutional money comes back in, when the traditional markets are opened. And I'll get to that in a moment when I review the indices. But so far, everything is turning out precisely how we were anticipating. And later in today's podcast, I'll be reviewing the indices to share where we're at and a recap of the week. But let's quickly review the code from this event that happened yesterday. Many of you remember that the key number of this year is 24, okay? And the mirror of that being 42. Well, Iran is 42 and 24. Also happens to be war 42. But we have this 24 and 42 in Iran. That is this new development that we're having now on the world stage. 24 in the same cipher as Russia gives you 24, full reduction. Russia will likely come back into the conversation soon, but for now, we have Israel giving you this 44. 44 is 2 4s. Esoterically, it becomes 24, 2 4. Israel also has 64, English ordinal. 6 times 4 is 24. Here we are in the Hebrew year of 5,784. Adds up to 24. We will be there until September 3rd. Around September 2nd is Rosh Hashanah. That is the next solar eclipse. We've been seeing what solar eclipses do to this market. Now, anyone who denies the power of eclipses I just don't know what to tell them. Look at how everything from October 14th till just last week, April 8th, look at any chart of any altcoin and tell me that that's not proof of the way that these energies work regarding phases of the market. You could even look at the gold chart. Just look at the gold chart and look at what it did between the last solar eclipse in October and this recent solar eclipse. It's undeniable. And that's why what we're doing here with this esoteric element of adding in not really complex astrology, but just the basics, the stuff that it's available for everyone to go look at, and you don't really need a skill. You don't need to be looking at these fancy astrology charts to be able to see these dates. And it's great that we have people in our community who are specialists in the astrology charts. I want more of that to be shared in our community because it helps strengthen what we're doing here even more. But getting back to this connection, this is powerful stuff. Let's bring in when these two dates, how these two dates are connected. And you have yesterday, October 7th. One second. So everyone probably remembers Israel's declaration of war would be on October 2nd, October 7th, 2023. And this matters a lot because it was the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, which was between the same two sides, right? Same, but 50 years later, to the day. So we know it was a ritual for this war to be declared. And kind of in the style of a Pearl Harbor, like a very much inside job type deal to just have something to go to war. And now I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of that because this isn't what that's about. If you think that this is all happening naturally and that it's not all scripted, then it's not all predetermined and pre-planned, then again, I don't know what to tell you. But this world's a stage. Hopefully this code has revealed enough to you by now how synchronized it all is, but also how planned it all is. The so-called elite are aware of the energy that they're working with during these particular times of year and these particular phases of the year. And the fact that we have the sun moving through where it's at right now into sidereal Aries ruled by Mars, the god of war. Today is April 14th. So we're right there now. And this is what's going on in the actual sky, not tropical. So we were anticipating this war, anything regarding the war, to happen around this time frame. It seems to be pretty obvious by now, especially given that we just had what we had yesterday. So this attack from the start of this war with Israel and Hamas and at Gaza, this is 6 months and 6 days. So that is 6 times 6 is 36. 36 is 3 6s, 666. So 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. This is a very important number in Judaism. So this is all synced together on a very, very important code, the 6-6. Now, earlier you heard me talk about Jupiter. Jupiter in Gematria equals 27 in Chaldean. You can see that right there. These are 27 weeks apart. That's just one note. But the thing I want to get back to here is the fact that these two events are 6 months and 6 days apart. That would be 66, and Iran is 66. So we're getting that in code. Also, both of these attacks happened on a Saturn day, the day of Saturn, Saturday. Day of their Lord, the Lord of the Rings, the Lord of walking in circles, Kaaba, right? Merkaba, Kabbalah. I mean, pretty amazing how this is all coded into these particular dates. 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, and then here you have it 6 months and 6 days later, this exact attack, just in the time frame of the sun moving into Aries, and we have Aries, the god of war. Also, for the Wolfpack, we've been anticipating this next war event to happen at this exact time frame between April 8th and April 15th. Here we are. We had the year of the dragon decode that I shared with you all back in the beginning of February, but these were dates that I was talking about far in advance. Pretty much a year before I even made this decode, I was talking about these key dates. The only ones that I didn't mention until I made this particular presentation was right here, this Gemini season timeframe, this late May into June. So that is brand new stuff. But what we've been talking about with this April and March timeframe, it's been going on for a while now. And I think it's very interesting how I started talking about this particular slide at the 42-minute mark. And one thing that's crazy is in my Canva presentation, this is the 40-second slide. I don't know how the hell that is possible, but I've been telling you about the 24 and 42 number a lot, and it's just wild to see how synchronized this all is. And I just wanted to check back in on this to get the timestamp. That way you guys could reference this if you'd like. You could go back and watch it. But at the 42-minute mark, I started talking about all of these key dates because from the start up until around, 80% through this decode, we were gathering all the data. And then I decided to just give you one short and sweet slide showing you everything that I've gathered and what are the likely dates, times of the year, and particular week numbers to focus on. And I wrote key date. The first key date that I wrote was March 10th. Now, the reason for that is because that was an exoteric date tied to the dot-com bubble. Dot-com bubble did not top out on March 10th, but it was sort of where a lot of the big tech stocks did top out. When we're looking at the indices, though, you might see that it was like between March 10th or March 24th-ish, effectively. It doesn't matter, though. It was around that time frame. That's what matters most. But when you look up .com bubble, you'll all find on Google or anywhere you search March 10th. And I thought that was really fascinating. Now, we're past March 10th, and we're also about 40 days or so past this particular date. And that was right around the highest daily close for Bitcoin. It was on March 12th. So wild to see that within 2 days of accuracy, we were on that particular time. And the 11th week of the year in particular, that's just wild. Now looking back at it, that we were talking about the significance of that particular time frame. Now, the one thing that is very different is the extent at which we were bullish. That was incredible to watch for Bitcoin specifically. To see Bitcoin hyperextend and get slightly above all-time highs was not what I anticipated. I admit that is not how I saw that going. I thought that would be incredibly unhealthy. But now that I'm looking back and I'm thinking about it, it's sort of genius for the apex predator to do this because they get all this FOMO, all this greed, all these new players coming into the market, buying this local top. Now with a 40 to 50% pullback across a lot of the altcoins, that's going to make retail want to panic sell. I know you guys won't. You'll just use this as an opportunity to dollar cost average, but retail won't. Most retail investors are going to panic sell right now. They probably were getting liquidated yesterday. So I warned everyone about 2 weeks ago, this is not the environment to be leverage trading in unless you really have risk management in place and you're using super low leverage. But expect this type of stuff that happened yesterday to start becoming more normal. Like, we're in a developing war narrative, right? And it's clearly affecting the crypto market. Although things like inflation and like a lot of the problems with fiscal policy and Fed policy and everything going on in the world stage, it is bullish for Bitcoin in many ways, but it doesn't mean that when it all hits and these events trigger that it won't pull Bitcoin in the direction of the energy, right? So if it does that to Bitcoin, what do you think it does to the altcoins? And what we watched happened yesterday with a big liquidation ritual across the board, I rest my case. So the second big part of this that we brought up was to anticipate through eclipse season during the 15th week of the year, April 8th through April 14th. With this key date of April, 15th. All right. So we had just yesterday this big event happen, with Iran. Check. So we're doing really good so far on this. And we have tomorrow, April 15th. So we still have April 15th, the day of the Notre Dame fire, the Boston Marathon bombing, the sinking of the Titanic. And all of these events happened on a Monday, just like tomorrow is a moon day, as you can see. It is also an 18 date numerology. And remember what I said before, 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18. That 18 is the most important number, if not one of the most important numbers in Judaism. Also, the thing that's really wild is if you take from the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War to April 15th, you're going to get 193 days. That's the 44th prime number. And that 44 number is, some of you might remember some of the work that I've done on the 44, but one thing to talk about esoterically, and then we'll move on, is the 4 is the door. It's the window. It's the portal. But it's a man-made portal. It's not a portal of spiritual essence at all. A circle would be, or a sphere. But getting back to this 4, the door, the window, the mirror, these are man-made choices, opportunities, right? Doors you walk through, you go into a different room. Sometimes rooms are designed for one particular task. You have a bathroom, you wouldn't make a sandwich in there. You have a window, there's a window that gets you into the house, there's a window that takes you out of the house. You wouldn't want to step out of your house through a window if you live on the 50th story floor of a building. You will probably die. So everything is about the energy of what door you're opening and what door you're closing. And that's life, right? You take particular job opportunities, you date particular people, you get married to particular people, you decide on what doors you're about to walk through. So for the 44 for me, it's not a master number, but the 44 is like 2 choices, and it has to deal with you as a human and what you will do with this physical choice, okay? Not as spiritual necessarily. I'm not saying 4 is not a spiritual number, by the way. I'm just saying it is more physical it's physical in more ways. So you have the 3, 6, 9. These are more of a spiritual essence. With the 4, it's more of this man-made. It has corners. It has a lot of structure. Think boxes. Boxes are traps. Okay. And I could talk about this all day because as a professional decoder, it's like something I love to speak on. I don't want to take up too much of your time here, but for those that are interested more in decoding, that decoding mastermind course that I just came out with, that is really going to set you up with a lot of the basics, a lot of the foundation. And you guys get the best discount on that since you're Patreon supporters. So getting back to this, I think this 193 connection and the 44, it's making me feel like there's a big, perhaps retaliation due on this upcoming Monday regarding Israel and Iran. So don't be shocked if we were to see or hear about something like this. And I believe this is as credible of a source as it gets from this BRICS news. They said the following countries are now shutting down their airspace. So you have Iran, Iraq, Syria, Israel, Egypt, Jordan, and Lebanon. And a funny comment down here from Devotions. But yeah, this is definitely feeling, it's likely some sort of response will be tomorrow. Not my opinion, just what seems likely based on the way that these egos like to collide. So we know that April 15th lands on a Monday. Oh, also, that would be the day that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated during the Civil War. And just a couple days ago on April 12th, the new Civil War movie came out right after the total solar eclipse that passed over the United States. I didn't see the movie. I don't know if I will be seeing it. Perhaps, who knows, but I'm just too busy right now. And I know I brought up the Decoding Mastermind a moment ago. I am now working on these 2 new modules that'll be added to that course. So I have too much going on. But My take on all of this stuff regarding civil war in the United States is that it'll probably take until 2025 for the USA to be full-blown involved in this current war narrative. I know they're funding it. I know they're like always, they're going to keep bringing up Biden. They're going to keep bringing up this stuff, but there's not going to be that actual involvement until likely 2025. That's during the year of the snake, just like in 1941 during World War II, and just like during World War I and Vietnam and the war in Iraq in 2001, it all aligns with the year of the snake. So that's really when to anticipate USA getting involved. And I think whatever went on in the Civil War movie, which I haven't even watched the trailer for it yet. I've just been decoding some stuff here and there for you guys, but it's making me feel like perhaps it's predictive programming, but in actuality, it's likely to be something that doesn't happen in America. They're just using like Hollywood and the influence there to push their agenda and reveal to you the storyline, but I doubt it's going to happen in America. The only thing that would make me be open to such an idea is if there was just something new that happened in the election narrative. That wouldn't shock me either. But at this point, I really could care less. None of this stuff on the world stage is going to hypnotize me. I've already prepared myself to do what I need to do when I need to do it. And at this point, I'm just staying calm. I feel protected, and I'm letting it all just unfold as it does. At the end of the day, I'm not going to point a finger and blame anyone. I just know that I got to do what I got to do. And I believe that what I've been doing here with you guys and doing these live streams every single week and everything that we speak on has been just leveling us up in so many ways. Like it's like going through the belt system in karate. Most of you are black belts already. So whatever they decide to do, we are ready for. And if you're not ready financially, you might want to consider that. And that's where we're going to be headed throughout the rest of this red pill. It's talking about the importance of this particular dip that we're watching unfold right now. And to take it seriously, if you are maybe not so aware of how to enter the market, maybe you're brand new to all of this, maybe you have no crypto at all, perhaps you were invested in the last cycle, but it wasn't the most profitable cycle for you. Maybe you bought the top of the last cycle. Don't feel any shame. Don't feel any guilt. You're here in a community that's very willing to help to get you to level up in not only knowledge, but experience. Ask questions in the Discord. Get to know other members. Don't be shy. I know that we have a few very active members. It would be great to see more people asking questions. So please utilize this wealth of information we have with our Discord server. And if you're newer, if you're somebody who was involved in the last cycle, or maybe you're somebody who's been hodling since 2017, but you didn't take profits, like this is really an important time to get the money right, because when we move into the year of the snake and so on, this hyperinflation thing isn't going to stop. It's not. So having this nest egg and building your investment portfolio accordingly and not fucking around with liabilities and just throwing your money at nonsense, you're going to thank me later, because a lot of people missed out on that 2020, 2021 thing. This is your chance. And I think this might be the last wild and crazy bull run regarding ROI. The next bull run, whenever that happens, and of course take it one step at a time, but I don't think it's going to give you as many gains. I don't think this one will bring as many gains as the last one. The last one, it was normal to see 20, 30, 40,000% in the altcoins. This, I don't know, we might be able to get 2,000 or 3,000. But seeing this 40,000, 50,000, 60,000% moves, it's unlikely. It would be great if it happened. I will prepare myself for that if it was to be the case. If I'm seeing it happen in the charts, I will know how to maneuver accordingly, of course, because I have the skill of TA, and I hope that you've been able to develop that more whilst being here in this mastermind community. But it's just seeming that this is perhaps one of the last great chances before maybe we do have like a .com bubble-like scenario where the bubble pops and we have a long consolidation cycle that takes a lot longer to recover, and regulation will likely be the cause of that. Yeah. We still have shitcoin mania here. We still have all these nonsense projects that have no utility, no use case, really no technology behind them. This isn't going to last forever. Something's got to give. People are getting squeezed right now in the middle class, and they don't have the money to speculate on the blue chips. They're going to go for the glory, and they're going to go all in on very speculative stuff that could get rug pulled overnight. That could be taken down by the SEC, which we see still has a lot of power in this crypto narrative. So I hope you guys enjoy these words of wisdom here in the middle of the red pill. I think it's important stuff to talk about. I think it's stuff that a lot of people are maybe uncomfortable to address. And what is so beautiful about what we're doing here is you never have to feel uncomfortable. You could always feel vulnerable. And that's why it's great to ask the questions and be open here, because there's so many that are in a similar situation, I myself included. I'm always looking out how to one-up my game in another field of research. I'm just getting started too, so I could be vulnerable about that. There's so much that I want to learn. There's so many things that I want to do in the future, and I know that building these winning portfolios is the best way to turn a little into a lot and then recycle and transmute that into something bigger. Crypto's not life. It's just part of the journey. So we'll all have to see how tomorrow goes regarding these markets, since crypto was trading alone yesterday and we saw how quick that liquidation ritual following that event was. Odds are this will put pressure on the traditional markets, and we'll continue to see volatility throughout April. For sure, into May, especially with this upcoming full moon this month, given we're still in eclipse season energy, as I like to say, until we pass through that full moon on April 24th into the third quarter moon on May 1st. So I'm referencing this lunar calendar here. We have this full moon. We're effectively moving into the first quarter now. But it's not until we leave this third quarter that we're really out of what I call alt season. It's a powerful energy. And then remember, we have this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction on April 21st. And I showed you all in the last red pill how that affected markets. Basically, 3 weeks before that, we were dipping into it. And then during it, took about 3 to 4 weeks after to recover bullish out. So if we were to take from the 21st of April, which is effectively right around that time frame, and we were to look about 1 month out, you're going to see this 28-week time frame is pretty much right around the full moon of May. So we have the May full moon on the 28th, sandwiched right there between the first quarter and the full. That's out of eclipse season, but we did not just go straight bullish after this particular alignment of Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus. It's likely that the beginning of May could also be some pullback energy, even for the crypto market. So we'll have to see how this all goes. But I think tomorrow, this particular market open, after we just had this war event, it'll be very telling on the energy of what to anticipate for the week. And then we have the next FOMC meeting pretty much on the third quarter moon, right there. On May 1st is the next time Fed Powell will speak for the FOMC meeting. So also in the last red pill, we focused a lot on the first couple weeks of Mercury retrograde, as well as recapping the fractal that played out back in March 2017. So let me pull up the Mercury retrograde chart. So we focused a lot on this Mercury retrograde analysis leading up into this particular event, and also combining that fractal of March 2017 that seems to be mimicking very closely to what we're experiencing today in this cycle of 2024. A couple things we made note of regarding this Mercury retrograde analysis was the pattern of topping out in the first week of Mercury retrograde, and we even see a pump and dump, or like a bullish fake out, during days 6 through 8, followed by a correction. And generally, when it goes like this, we fall into the 75% of iterations where Bitcoin is sideways and down during Mercury retrograde. And even if we do correct more during this final days of Mercury retrograde, a lot of the times we finish it off sideways. So I told you all to mark whatever Bitcoin closes on April 1st, and the odds are we're going to have a bullish first week of Mercury retrograde, and then it's going to be a fake out pump and dump, and then here we are. Beautiful. It happened exactly like that, and that's important because when we look back at past iterations, you see how we act a majority of the time as we stay generally pretty sideways, but on these alignments with eclipse season and Mercury retrograde, we're bearish. So you saw over here, we finished Mercury retrograde effectively flat, but we had a downtrend that continued an additional 30 days. So if we were to see how that was to go from around this plus 30 days, that's the full moon of May. It can't get any more perfect. So if we look at where this major trend line is for Bitcoin, you see how it's been holding as a support. Here it broke through, then we got above it, back tested it around this Bitcoin ETF nonsense. And then if we look at where it's at on May 24th around the full moon, after Mercury retrograde, it sits us at about 54. So we could absolutely touch this line one more time. And if we were to touch it a little bit earlier, it would be in alignment with this back testing this last horizontal trading range, which I had marked over here in a chart that I've been sharing with you guys quite often. I'm going to change these Heikin-Ashi candles. Yeah, we'll get back to this a little bit later when we do the Bitcoin analysis, but this is exactly how we were anticipating this Mercury retrograde phase to go. In the 25% of iterations, I said it's unlikely, and if it was to happen, it's probably not going to be a healthy bull run any longer. Meaning if we were to just go up to 80K, 83, 85K now, right now, with no more pullbacks, that to me is dangerous. And we're not getting that. So that's actually making me very confident and more optimistic regardless of what's going on with this particular war narrative. And I even said it in the last Red Pill podcast. I don't know verbatim exactly what the quote was, but I said it's likely we're not going up right now. It's likely we're going down. So in the last Red Pill, I also mentioned that March 2017 fractal and that tracking of that whole thing and pushing up bullish about 5 days after the solar eclipse. And it's pretty fascinating to see how by day 4-ish, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, technically, we were looking pretty damn good. We were trading above 71K. And then right when that day kicked in, boom. So it's just insane how dialed in all of this was. And in 2017, we had this phase between March 16th through 25th. I'm going to quickly show you that right over here. Big red candles. It was a 7%, 8%, 9% in a row. So 3 devastating candles. I'm wondering if we have these 5 days after the solar eclipse that I just mentioned, a distributional top. And if I took from that day to this big liquidation candle, it was a week. And then if I was to take off of this top date over to the bottom, it's around 10 days. So if I was to anticipate something like 7 to 10 days after we just hit our local top, it could give us an idea of where this is likely to finish off. So it would be from the final day over 7, puts us at the 19th, and then 10 puts us at the 22nd. So we would be right there around this month's full moon, also around the Bitcoin halving. So we have the Bitcoin halving about 5 days out. You can see 805 blocks remaining. It's pretty wild to track this live with you all, like the whole process of everything, because we have to say it. This time is not different. Like, it's just not. Like, there's whoever is thinking this time is different, like, sorry, but Bitcoin trading above all-time highs for a couple of daily candles is not price discovery all-time highs. It's a fucking manipulation to push us up to a level to get retail to drool and then FOMO in and then liquidate them all or force them to panic sell through emotion. This is textbook. The fact that Bitcoin has just done what it's done yesterday is proving this time is not different. It is very, very similar to 2017. And it's healthy, by the way. It's healthy that we're doing this. If it was to be this time is different and Bitcoin just went to 100K before May started, that would be really bad. The odds are that would follow with a 70% correction, which would put an 80% correction on altcoins. You don't want that. It's better to just have these mid-cycle 30% corrections along the way. And then when we really break into price discovery, you'll see Bitcoin dominance follow. Then you'll see ETH wake up, and then you'll see everything rise. But it's great that we're stalling out right now because this was overheated in so many ways. From a technical perspective, not what WatersAbove wants. I wouldn't care if it corrected because I was buying a majority of my positions back in October solar eclipse. You guys were all watching me do that if you were here in the community. I was posting all the time around October and November. I couldn't give a shit if the market went up or not. I was positioned. The point here is that we should desire, if we're going to have any desire, a healthy market, not just straight bull mode, parabola, and then huge correction. That makes it very difficult to navigate, and that makes it tough for most people to actually profit off of the market. A lot of people get just, I think we watched enough of it in 2021, and if you're brand new here, take the words of wisdom. It's important that you see that you shouldn't have any desire for markets to just keep going up and up and up and up, because if it does that, then you get devastating crashes. Getting back to this, that phase of March 16th through 25th back in 2017, it was a shakeout before recovery. And this daily close that we just got yesterday, although it happened on a weekend and we don't trust weekends, it did close structurally below this level here of April 2nd. So that's looking like weakness, and I gave everyone a shout out of that before. But it's really right here that would be clear weakness as a close below 61. I'm actually glad we bounced right now because CME is going to open a little bit later today, and there will be a gap. So we did fill this CME gap effectively over here. Let me delete that live with you guys. And what we're watching now in this pattern is something called a kickback, okay? So we have our high, lower high. Here we have our low, higher lows, plenty of them. And then this getting closer to the apex, break up, then break down. It's a very elusive kickback. At this time, you would be removing your pattern, but I do want to keep this clean trend line right here. Like, look at this support that we had. Rejection, get above. Back test, back test, back test for many, many candles, break below. We want to keep this particular trend line. Now, we still need to fill out this 500 or so gap at the bottom. We probably will, because wherever CME opens today, it'll likely be around this level. We'll get that gap filled, but then we'll have a different gap to cover. So everything between this range of like 64 to 67, it's going to probably chop a little bit unless we just have a big volatile market open tomorrow. Plenty of time between now and then, though. So CME is opening at like 7 p.m., I believe, Eastern, and then you don't have market open until the following day around 9:30 a.m. Eastern. But this 1618 target is big. Had a little bit of cluster of trading back there, and then the key level over here. And I don't think that this gap is even really a gap, just like I don't really think this is too much of a gap. Most of it got filled, but the gap believers out there that want to be super precise about this, I guess you could take this analysis and do with it what you will. So we talked about the halving. We talked a lot about this kind of final pullback energy that we're getting in these markets. And please know that I'm not telling you to wait until this particular time frame of the full moon that's coming up. I'm not telling you to wait. I myself even took advantage of the market weakness yesterday, and I started accumulating on some new venture capital positions. I talked about this a little bit earlier, because in my experience, when we're flash crashing and you're seeing alts down 20 to 25% in a single day, that's a big buy the dip signal. It always has been. And as I've said many times, don't burden yourself with trying to buy the exact bottom. It's impossible. Just DCA into position over the next couple days and weeks according to your own investment thesis. And I've been warning about this dip for a while now, so don't let it slip through your hands because you want better prices. Even Ethereum has already had a 30% correction from this local top down to this level that we traded into yesterday, right? 30% in 30 days. Like, how much more could you want? You know, this is a really, really great opportunity. XRP has had a 45% correction recently. Dogecoin is down 40% from its microcycle top. Cardano is down 50% from its microcycle top. Of course, there's been a little bit of a buyback today, but we're generally in an amazing area for reaccumulation or buying and getting positioned in some more speculative altcoins before Bitcoin really moves into price discovery. So many of the targets that I shared during the last What I'm Investing in special were hit over the past 24 hours. But one thing we've also seen in some particular charts is a very important structure broken. And that would be, I think a good example would be like Quant I checked out. So we had this trend line over here for Quant, back test on the selling climax. Over here, some activity in the October solar eclipse, another bounce. And then lately we've effectively started to break through it with a pretty violent breakdown and volume confirmation. That's a break of a clear support that's been in play for 2 years now. So I'm just saying that doesn't look awesome. That looks like this has some weakness now. Also, look at this XDC chart. It's down 60% from this automatic rally top from there to there. This is like the lowest weekly RSI that we've seen on XDC since back in December of 2022 when it was at the selling climax lows. This screams buying opportunity. And checking in on the daily RSI at 27 right now, I believe. Yeah, we're at 27 if you look right there. So we're at 27 RSI on the daily. This is a solid entry area on a particular project that pulled off 40,000% gains in the last cycle, going off of all this structure over here. So when I show you the way that I like to measure off of, you can't deny that 500 days is a good level to pull some percentages from. This thing almost went up 40,000% from a range that it was in for 2 years. So when I'm seeing this thing having this type of correction towards this 236 fib, and it's still 400% away probably. Yeah, look, it's 400% away from its prior all-time highs. And if we were to look at where the 1618 is, which I think is important because that was the fib pull target that we got on the last cycle. Let me show you. So we have from the swing high to the swing low, we hit the 1618 perfectly. If we looked at where that is today, it's around 82 cents. So from where we're trading at now to this target is 2,000%. It's in alignment with what I was saying earlier. So what an opportunity. Anyways, check out the last What I'm Investing in Part 3 special. It was Red Pill podcast number 154. It was pretty much filmed during that local top on March 10th, that Sunday. That podcast was packed with gnosis. You'll get so much value out of rewatching it because the emphasis that I put on that podcast was these buying targets, was to anticipate corrections and how we could react or respond to those markets. So before getting into the stock market, I just want to very, very quickly recap what's going on with Total 2 and Total 3, because look at this break below the 1618, the golden pocket. So I just want to remind people, like, we're not in an alt season. I got a lot of shit for this, and people are not aware that an alt season is this. It's when you're just breaking into price discovery, this moment, okay? If you want to consider it this moment, fair. But let's recap this right here. This is what we're in right now. We are in this final dip, this shit right here. And it doesn't last long. I mean, maybe it might last a little longer this time around because of where the Bitcoin halving is situated in all of this, which does matter. I'm not saying that it matters 100%, but it does play a role only because the last two Bitcoin halvings were in a particular time frame where the market tends to be boring. It's not really the halving, it's where the energy is, the astrology at the time. So last time we had it in May. It was during a boring lull time frame. It's typically what's going on in April and May. Like I showed you here. April, May, and June. Even June is mostly flat. So if the Bitcoin halving was in December, it would make it a lot different. But for whatever reason, it is what it is. But that's another story. Getting back to this, I think we're right here. We're in the don't mess around if you're not invested in this market phase. This is your chance. This is your chance. We are breaking below one of the very critical levels. And at best, we backtest this level right here, which would be the last level we touched. We can see correction, break. We gravitated back to it, got a little bit of a backup phase, and now we've broke through. We didn't really spend too much time between the 0.5 and the 618, so now we're back in that zone. And these are like flash crash type moves. So I would not mess around with this. This is a gift. Good total 3. This is a gift. We just back tested the 0.5 fib. Like I'm not messing around right now. This is a fucking gift. And we're not in an alt season. We're 70%, we're 80% away from retesting all-time highs. That is not an alt season. I'm over it. I don't know who these analysts are out there that are saying that we're in an alt season and trying to make an argument. People need to learn how to read these charts, so you don't need to even take my word for it anymore. And I'm sorry that I get passionate about this, but I care so much about you being self-reliant that it just triggers me when these analysts are calling out these particular times and phases of things, and people just blindly go along with it. And I ask them, well, how, why? And they don't know. They just say, because this guy said. But that's not how the world works. You didn't just put a mask on because Fauci said so, right? Like, why would you do that with a TA analyst? Like, it's time to learn these skills. And I know that it's not really as applicable for you guys here because you came here to this place in a spiritual way. Most likely you're a conscious being. I'm not trying to call out anyone and say that their other analysts are like luring in NPCs, but I think you get what I mean, right? You have more of a spiritual essence to you. So you're guided by different things. And here I think self-reliance is everything. I don't want people to be relying on me. I don't want anyone to follow me. I want to speak to the ears of leadership, and that's you. So getting back to this, to not take it too seriously, we're not in a fucking alt season. We're 80% down from prior all-time highs. We just broke a very critical structure. Every time Bitcoin dips, altcoins dip triple the amount, okay? That's not an alt season. Alt season is when Bitcoin is in price discovery, going ham, and you see altcoins doing much, 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 much better. Whilst you also see Bitcoin dominance breaking. So it's all it's like a symphony. And we're not there yet. We're close, but we're not there yet. We're in the mode right now where you should probably be taking the final buying, final accumulation seriously. But one huge thing to point out is this. Let me go back to total 2 because that involves Ethereum. We broke below the 55 simple moving average, and we're about to get a wolf cross. And this particular wolf cross of the 8 simple going below the 55 simple is downside implied. And one thing to note is when this initially crosses is sometimes the best discounted part of the dip. So what I mean by this is if this does effectively become the bottom, I'm not saying it will be, but we bounce, maybe come back into the cross, and then we have like this kind of thing. But we fill out a little bit of this wick, quick flash, fill out the wick again, and then we come up. So that could very well be how this goes. And that's why you don't want to sleep on this moment here while we're gravitating back up to the cross. That tends to happen a lot. It just happened in a couple of things that I was talking about last week, but to stay on track here, if we were to come back up, that doesn't mean we have to go lower. We could get to 105, keel over, and then hold structure. And then just fill out the bottom between this 0.702 fib and the 618 fib, okay? This is all opportunity, man. But the initial part of the crash is sometimes as good as it gets, and it's denoted by this cross. So right here, you see the lowest we got was before this cross, and then we crossed, and then we stayed flat, just like I explained. Here, so this one came in a little bit later, but you see the power of this cross. This is not my favorite chart to do this on, by the way. This is a market cap chart, not an actual project. If we were to do this with an independent stock or with something like Bitcoin, you'd see it's very clear with these wolf crosses. So you got it right here. Wolf cross, downside. Wolf cross, upside. Wolf cross, downside. Wolf cross, upside. Just whatever direction it's happening in. It's my TA gift to everyone. It's one of the best moving average crosses that exists. So let's get into the traditional markets. We're going to do a quick recap, and then we'll get into Bitcoin and everything else. So we have the S&P. We had this parallel channel in play now for quite a while. It really started to kick in November after the October solar eclipse. We traded in this parallel channel all the way until recently. And then this last, not this last Thursday, but 2 Thursdays ago, we had a big red candle kicking us out of this parallel channel support. Then we started to show weakness, and as of last Friday, the market close that we had on April 12th, this became obvious because we started closing another lower low. So it's looking like we're in a distribution at this time. I marked off these 2 levels for you to keep in mind because we tend to see the S&P return back to wherever we were trading during the beginning of the Chinese New Year, of the Year of the Dragon, effectively. So we have this level right here, which would be 4940. That would be like on your more lower end. And then you would have this being this like gap to fill. So just keep that in mind. That's likely where we're heading back to. We don't see like crashes at this time except for one iteration. And we have to be very open-minded to that iteration, to that time frame, because that was World War II. That was 1940, and that's the year I keep bringing up. I'm not playing games with this. This is serious shit. Yeah, it was right here. The market topped out on April 8th, and then just boop. May 10th, there was a big ritual that happened on the world stage, and a big invasion. So keep in mind this May 10th time frame because it's still during sidereal Aries. Again, Aries ruled by Mars. We just had this recent total solar eclipse in Aries. We have Mercury retrograde right now in Aries. So this is all war shit to be anticipated, obviously. This is another big way we linked it all together. But just keep that in mind. This 1940 iteration was one of the Year of the Dragons where we absolutely cratered in April, May, but we still bottomed at the same exact time frame. So you want to keep that in mind. It's this full moon in May. The full moon in May is so crucial, and it's in the same exact time of May that it will be for us. It also is very aligned with what was going on with that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction analysis. So get in the market if there's any dips in May, moving into June, and be as positioned as possible by June. Excuse me. I should take a sip of water. 1 second. Yeah. Nice little uptrend into Q4. So getting over to what we're seeing today, we're definitely getting weakness. We have the levels to keep in mind. And then we're just going to quickly check in on some of the moving averages to see if we have anything else that's pointing to some danger. Okay, there we go. So we're getting a retest of the 55 simple likely very soon, and it was the last time we tested on it. Look at how beautiful this is. Look. So we had perfectly back testing the 55 on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least a full week back testing it. Wolf cross, textbook, buy, boop, amazing. So this cross is fucking amazing when you're looking at stocks. Obviously, stocks are a lot easier to navigate than something like an altcoin, but Yeah, that's gorgeous. And now we're retesting it. But the problem is when we retest it, we typically either bounce or we start to break below it, and then we could have some chop. So it's likely that we do break below it and that we have some chop at the 5,000 territory if we do continue to see pressure throughout now into the next FOMC meeting. Let's look at what's going on with the Dow. Ooh, okay. Dow Jones, that is, yep. Este no bueno. So we have market topped out in late March, just like I shared a very long time ago. We have this candle right here was the nail in the coffin. We closed below the 55 simple, rejection off the 8 simple, wolf cross, downside implied, boom, boom, boom. Dominoes are falling. But now we're actually retesting a key level, which would be right here. This is a horizontal trading range that's in play for a full month. So coming back to that level is key. Let's see if this bounces. But the 200s could very well be next if this shit really wants to crater down. I don't know, though. I would like to say that it's hard for me to believe us getting lower than 37,000 points. We have these two levels right there. I'm open to that. Yeah, that could very well be in alignment with the 200s by late April or early May. So it's not out of the cards. If these 200s are rising into those levels, that would synchronize. That would make sense. It's, again, not usual to see like 15% corrections during this. It's usually just like 5 to 10% max. And from where we're at now to a full 10% correction would be, well, not crazy. We would be back testing some prior resistance levels. Like here, we got resistance, and then once we broke above it, we did not backtest it. That would be big. Seeing a 10% correction right now in the Dow Jones would be big. But with war narrative, it's not weird. These 200s are aligning very nicely with this quick flash down in January. We're already getting a distributional top here on the NASDAQ. That would be a 12% correction. I'm not sure that's how the dot-com bubble went. But keep in mind these prior highs of November 2021, around the same time Bitcoin hit 69,000. That would be the level of backtesting if we were to have a more dramatic pullback. And the fact that we have right here with the 55 simple being backtested and these two moving averages pinching together, that's a sign of weakness. And that tells me that wolf cross to the downside is probably coming soon. And to keep that in mind, if we close any dailies below the 55 simple for the NASDAQ, we're going to start to see more pressure. And like Apple has been looking very wild lately. Like look at this bounce on Apple we had the other day, 4.3% to the upside, but JP Morgan falling off a cliff, closed below the 55 simple, huge gap. This is clearly off of earnings. We'll have to see how market opens on Monday because we know that the Fed Bank Term Funding Program ended in March, just last month, about a month ago. And now we're seeing some issues in retail, commercial banks. We know that people are in massive credit card debt right now, and there's hyperinflation. So banks are getting thirsty to sell you money. They want you to take out loans, and people are already so maxed out. So the loans aren't being opened, and it's a shitty environment. So I don't know if we are going to have a banking collapse like we did in 2008, but it seems that they're pushing this chaos through the banking sector because they want to move us blockchain. You guys already know that. They want to move us into the quantum. So when you see this in one of the biggest quote unquote too big to fail banks, that's a sign of more downside likely, especially in the tech sector. And just consider the downside analysis on these indices because it's likely to put pressure on the crypto market. So quick check-in on gold. We hit 2,400. That was my target. Crazy to watch that all go down. Some of you might remember the Red Pill podcast that I did around here into this dip that we had. I literally marked off this level on camera. Okay. Just a reminder, I marked off this level on camera. We traded into it with, look at how many days red. This is 10 daily closes red in a row. And don't you find it interesting how the date that we pivoted was the day before this bombing in Israel? So we have the war being declared by Israel on the day. Weird, right? That we just dipped perfectly into that moment. and then since have been crazy bullish from eclipse to eclipse. You can't make this shit up. And then look at this reaction off of hitting 2,400. Big wick to the upside, big rejection, down to 1.19%, 119, 911. Pretty weird. But so far, we're still closing higher. We closed our high here, no bearish engulfing candle. We're holding the 8 simple moving average. This is nothing negative. But we are at all-time highs on gold. Like, we had this triple top. We had this slight backup phase. This is about as bullish as it's going to get on a chart setup. Do I think gold has more room to the upside? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gold has more room to the upside. So let's kind of like figure out what's going on with that. And we're going to play with this horizontal trading range, these triple tops. So you can see very clearly that one of the pieces of evidence that I showed you guys for the $2,400 gold, which I brought up exactly a year ago in April, right here in this post on April 7th, 2023, gold to 2,400 USD per ounce in 2024, Hebrew year adding up to 24. 24th letter is the X, and that is the Omega, the beginning and the end. 24th letter in the Greek alphabet. And then this 24 symbol of Jupiter. It's funny. Kevin Kim says no. Well, Kevin, yes, we did it. And we did it pretty quickly, actually. This is a straight line breakout, so it's a little bit unhealthy to be seeing gold get into almost 90 RSI, but it is what it is. Let's entertain higher targets, and what I'm going to do might seem a little foolish, but I'm going to turn this off, put it on linear for a moment, and I'm going to look over my 4236 is. That would probably be my extreme target of consideration. Extreme. But I do believe that this 2,800 level is next, personally. It aligns with 2 key moving averages. So let me zoom out, put it on like a weekly chart. So we already had this horizontal trading range from 1979 to the swing low of 1999, and we broke out to that 1618 already back in August of 2011. You see how textbook that was? Then we had this big correction and a new horizontal trading range developed, and the 1618 of this is going to be 2,811. That's what I think is likely to be the next level. Just quickly adjust. Yeah. So 2,800, and keep that level in mind. I don't think that's a de-risk level though, because I think what we're about to watch with the debasement of the currency is wild stuff that you've never imagined. We're just on this phase now. Okay. Get ready. 2,800's next. But for now, cooling off a little bit, maybe pulling back to the 2,200. I know that sounds weird to have gold pull back another 10%, but the way that it went up so fast, it's not healthy. Coming back to that level around 2,180, 2,200 would be good. Although it would look very blow off top like, it could take a little bit of time. And if we get to July, August, I do think gold will start breaking definitively into like the $2,500 level, 2,600, and then we'll see it head towards that 2,800 probably by September. And you guys could write that down. You could, I'll do it. I'll do it for fun. $2,800 gold by September, just for fun. All right. Now, silver, it's the same sort of deal with the speed at which we've broken out, but we're not in price discovery because silver needs like $47 to get to price discovery. So we still have some room to the upside, naturally about 78 to 80% more. Fantastic. So it's just, it's just starting to break this big triangle that we had from this resistance based off this support. And we were getting far into the apex of this move. We're clearly about 80% through. But now it's this horizontal range at about $29 that's resistance. And that's exactly where we got rejected too. And I marked that off the last time I covered gold and silver. So this is really, really spot on analysis that we've been having lately on this. it's nice because I rarely talk about gold and silver, but whenever I give the time to it, I could see these patterns. And one thing I want to tell everyone is when you get good at doing TA on crypto, it makes it so much easier to do everything else. Like getting good at crypto TA and altcoin TA in particular, it'll make doing Forex fucking simple, because that is much more pattern heavy. That's much more like textbook TA. This altcoin market is very elusive. I mean, it doesn't follow as many rules. The likelihood of it doing exactly and precisely what you're anticipating as an analyst is less than in this case with precious metals. But anyways, getting back to this, we do have a breakout in silver, but I think we need to see, so this is where I'll finalize this analysis. I think we need to see a 3-day or 5-day close above $30. If we start to see a 3-day or 5-day close, better a weekly close above $30, I think the next place we're going is likely into this 38.40 territory. And then it's thin air between here, right here at this 888 fib, somewhere around 35, and price discovery. Very, very little time for silver trading up at those levels. So that could be likely tethered to whatever gold does. Like gold would most likely need to also break into this like 2,500 territory to start seeing silver go into price discovery. Let's get over to Bitcoin. It's going to be a quick analysis on Bitcoin today because we don't really have too much to say about downside targets. We've been following that forever now, right? We've been more prepared than ever, but let's take these drongs away. We got to address a very important daily close we just got yesterday. Although it happened on a Saturday, closing below this 55 simple moving average is not healthy. It's not that it's not healthy. It's just it's not holding that bullish momentum anymore. It's a very important moving average to be closing below, especially with multiple rejections at this horizontal resistance. I think it'll be better if I show you guys this way. Yeah. So yeah, it's a sign of weakness is what I should have said. Not really about the health. We need more pullback in my opinion, just more chop. But this 12-hour chart I really like. I see that we've started to get this wolf cross of the 8 below the 55, although this is on the 12-hour. This is showing absolutely more pullback underway, but we bounced very nicely on our 1-month support. So nothing weird here. We have our monthly chart looking like it's pulling back to retest the prior cycle all-time highs. So that's even pretty healthy. We have a bi-weekly close coming up next week. If we were to close it where we're at right now, that would not look good. This weekly close is a sign. All right. So we have the weekly chart. We know we're closing it tonight. If we were to close it below 65,600, which right now we're $1,000 below, that would be weak. Especially because we'd be closing another low in the structure, with the lows right now being at 67K, like I said last week. So this would align with being below a key moving average. And then we have the 21 EMA, which is sitting around 54,000 right now. I'll say it again. We have this pi cycle indicator top. It is also sitting around 54,000 right now. If we were to get a pullback, 54K does make sense, but I think we would swipe even into 52 or 53 to just backtest the February 12th and February 19th candles. That would be from where we're trading at as I film today's video, another 18% pullback, so nothing crazy. And from our absolute high down to 53K would be 28%. Again, nothing crazy. Bitcoin has done 40% corrections in the middle of bull runs. They were all healthy every time they happened. That's all that could be potentially happening. But right now, Bitcoin's strong. This was a healthy bounce. We did not close a new daily close lower. We had a great buyback off of that flash yesterday. Can't say the same thing for all the other altcoins, of course. So yeah, until we close below 62, particularly 61,000, we're just holding this horizontal trading range. That's all I could say for now. Obviously, Bitcoin's running the show. So if Bitcoin was to close below the 61 level, that's going to bring a lot of pain to the altcoins. And that could very well be happening this upcoming week. Let's go over to Ethereum very quickly. Ethereum, this looks very weak because you see how that was the level I was comparing to for Bitcoin. Well, we broke through that yesterday. So The fact that we got even below 3,000 again is another sign that this looks like it's on its final pullback before sky's the limit. Maybe 10K, maybe 11K Ethereum in this cycle, maybe $14,000 Ethereum. Remember Ethereum equals 41.40, but I like that 41 because ETH equals 14. Be interesting if we can get up to that 14K ETH. It'll be wild times. We topped out at 41. Pretty much. We topped out at 4,100. So yeah, that's wild. I didn't even think about that till just now. But yeah, we wanna anticipate further downside just because of the way that this closed lower. Let me pull up this ETH chart over here. Look at the weekly. Ooh, yeah. Oh, well, we tapped on the 21 though, so keep that in mind. 2,800 might be as low as ETH gets on like a weekly close perspective. So if we were to dip lower next week, we could still get bought right back up, back to the 21. So keep that in mind. What was the behavior like in this cycle? Yeah, so this is the 2017 cycle. You can see that the 21 EMA on the weekly was very, very crucial until the end of the cycle. Oh, and by the way, ETH had pretty much a $1,400 cycle top in 2018. So that 1441 number is fucking crazy. Like I told you, gematria numerology, that's the stuff runs this market. It's just insane to see how the all-time high was 1,410, right? Like the 141. Ethereum, 41. ETH, 14, Chaldean. It'd be sick if we could hit 14,000 in this cycle. Let me see where that 1618 is just for fun. Oh, shit. Okay, it's at 1,400. Get the fuck out of here. Mamma mia. Yeah, 1,400. Let's go. See, that's the only time you're allowed to say let's go. When you have that much going on. All right. Yep. So daily wolf cross to the downside. Big candle close below this support. We could tell this was a support. Let me turn off everything except, you see, support, back test, support, break, rejection, got above, support, break. So we've been snaking along this for some time now. It looks like this could also be a trend line. Oh shit. Yeah, okay. So we'll leave that. It's a little trend line heavy on this ETH chart now. Let's get rid of this. I don't think this is necessary anymore. We just back tested the 702. See, this is why it's good to clean up your charts along the way. Don't keep them messy because then you're not going to be able to read them. Only keep the crucial trend lines. So this is unimportant. This is unimportant. We're probably never going back that low. But it's clear that here you've had some support. Here you have had some support and you just back tested it now. So breaking below this key level to me signals that we have a lot of interest around this 25 to 2,000 level. And coming back all the way to 2,000 would be big. That'd be a 45% pullback. So if Bitcoin was to have a 28, it would not be shocking to me if we got into this 2,500. Let me see where the 34 EMA is. Okay, so the 34 EMA is at 2,600. So that's very clean. Keep that in mind, everyone. 26 is conservative. Let's look at Ethereum. Nope, XRP. Ooh, okay, so XRP on the weekly. Do you see what's going on right here, everyone? C19 crash, post SEC lawsuit, excuse me. End of the bull run, supported. Oh, what? What's going on, XRP? What the hell are you doing? You're breaking the rules. But didn't we kind of do some shit like that before we went up in a straight line? Don't get distracted. I kind of want to buy more. But I gotta admit, I already have a big XRP position. I can't go against my investment thesis. It's not the way to do it. Chief Wolf follows his own protocols and rules. I'm not about being an XRP maxi, okay? This is underperforming. This is not looking good. You don't just invest in shit just because. You need to have an investment thesis. And my investment thesis says I would be better off having some diversification into some other stuff, especially with this being my second biggest position. There's really no need for me to add more. But for those that have none of this shit, this might be the time. This might be it, because that's exactly the kind of vibe that we had in 2017 when Bitcoin was breaking into price discovery and this shit went up in a straight 6,000%. It's not my opinion. It's not my opinion, family. Even if this thing just hit the 1618, that'd be like a straight line breakout to $6. I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm just saying that this type of environment is so similar for Bitcoin. And we knew it took Bitcoin to break out into all-time highs during that time in order for us to see the same type of momentum in the rest of the market. Well, even back here, with the SEC case just starting, we saw this flash crash for XRP, but then XRP went on to do a 10x, okay? Because Bitcoin went up into price discovery. At this time, Bitcoin was at 60-something thousand. Okay, so for it to make this move 1,000% up in the middle of a lawsuit, right, means that this shit without any lawsuit could do some wild stuff as it's done in the past. So I'm not bearish. I just have to admit, as a chart analyst, this looks ugly. This looks fugly. Let's look at this chart real quick and see anything that we have. Okay, so this is an interesting take on this. I have another trend line, which is sort of in the vibe, but yeah. Let's look at it on the daily. Yeah, this is about as low as we should be going. Any lower than this, we have to call God. We have to call God. Be like, God, are you home? Did you buy the dip? Because I don't think retail's buying the dip. But no, all jokes aside, I'm still very bullish on this because I've seen this project do this sort of same thing where it goes really, really low, like really shakes people out, just drains you. And that's the moment where news comes out of nowhere, or something comes out of nowhere, and this thing just breaks out in a straight line. And that's not hopium. That's the truth of the charts. This coin does that. So yeah, just keep this in mind. We already had a little bit of shitcoin mania. I think we're about to move into a moment where perhaps we get some of the final notes on this XRP, this Ripple SEC case, and then that's all it will take for some of that liquidity to leave this shitcoin nonsense and move into, or the AI coins also, and move into this XRP thing. Okay, so let's get over to our first project today, which is going to be IMX. Immutable X. Okay, I don't have all the chart history, I don't think, but we have it losing about 93% of its value during this launch down to selling climax. This was your automatic rally, technically. This is your spring-ish, sort of. But then now you're in SOS. And this was a tiny little backup phase, but the fact that we're breaking down now, it's moving into what I think is the true backup phase. So we'll just take it step by step. Imagine this is your selling climax automatic rally. This is like an LPS, last point of support. Then breaking out into SOS. And we are now kind of retesting the 618 on 3 daily candles. So we had this big flash on Friday, yesterday, and today we're looking like a doji. So let's go to the weekly, and the weekly, okay. So 24% down on this weekly. And I want you, if you're interested in this project, take note of the $1.90 level. Because if we were to start closing below that, I think we could very quickly fill out to the 0.5 fib. That is probably a glorious buying opportunity. So far, this thing has already corrected 55%. And it going down to this level of around here, $1.50. would be a 60% correction. That's not weird, because that would have only been an additional 12 or so percent from these wicks on the bottom over here. That would be your backup phase. So it would look something like this. I will track by September, probably when that shit will be over, and it will go like something like that. Okay, that's your backup phase. So I don't think this is something to wait for, though. This will be perhaps a very tiny moment. It could be a single week. It could be a single day where we just flash down there and get bought back up very quickly. That's how altcoins are, right? So don't sleep on this stuff if you're especially interested in a project that has an X in it, because we're in the year of the X. And I think that symbolism counts. Keep that in mind. Yeah, so there's just a lot of weakness and too little chart history, but I think we have a pretty good idea of what this is likely, what this is likely to do. This could be a trend line right here. I like to draw trend lines like this once in a while because I can see off of a key point to a break, then recovery, then again, break, and then again, recovery, back test. This is a cool way of doing trend lines that I think people don't exercise enough, especially if you're newer to this market and you want to realize why certain projects enter overbought or oversold around certain levels. It's like these weird trend lines that you draft through the chart. They could be very helpful. I've done this a lot on more long-term analysis, but you have to be on a logarithmic scale. It's a little chart lesson for everyone. Now, what I like about this is it's aligning very nicely with this 0.5 fib level that I just told you about around 150. Now, 150 and off of the return to this prior high, if this is in fact the all-time high, is around 275%, 300%. And if this was to break into price discovery, which it likely will, there's a chance for it making it all the way up to the 1618. That's around 30. That's crazy. That'd be a massive move. And then if you just wanted to take off the 4236, it could be 23. Oop. Yeah, so 23. Yeah, but remember, X is 24. X is the 24th letter. That's a very weird word. Is that how it's spelled? It's so weird to type that word out. Let me see. Got that 58, that 45, 58 tying you back to XRP 58. But anything with this X symbolism is going to have heavy 24 ritual. So yeah, that $24, that would be pretty wild target. I'm going to leave it at that though, everyone. I'll put a little marker at 24 just for fun. Double click. And by the way, I'm not saying that it's going to go to $24 by this date. I'm saying this will be the date that likely the backup phase is over. Unless we have some crazy shit happen in like July and we get overextended too quick, we'll revisit there. But likely, because of the timing of some of these pivots, we would be going into the big next phase of the bull run after September. Q4 is typically an extremely bullish time for markets. And you could see that December is really good in presidential election years. So it wouldn't be shocking if we had a crazy August, a little bit of a lull in September, October around eclipse season. And then, I don't know about crypto in this conversation because there's just not enough elections that we've been through. Crypto has such limited data. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let's take this one step at a time. We've been doing pretty good at tracking this. But consider the September timeframe could be very crucial for the finality of this backup phase. And what that would mean is I think before this, we would already be getting into all-time highs on this particular project. We could be getting all-time highs on this project by July, by here. So this is the latest this backup phase should be over. And then, yeah, price discovery, that $24 mark would make a lot of sense to me. Let's get over to compound. Ooh, I didn't have this saved in my chart. Not Coomp. Oof. Yeah, okay. So we have, this, just for context, this is 2020. This project is trading lower in 2024 than where it was trading in 2020. That's not good. That's bad. This thing is 94% down from all-time highs. It hasn't broken above the 382 yet. It's still below the 236. Whew. Clear trend line support. We're gravitating back to that now. Your selling climax happening in June this way with the quick sharp move up, but we are getting kind of a trend reversal ish with this move up to the 382, but no concrete macro closes above the 382. So that's a huge sign of weakness, and also the level that you tested both times of very big significance, because this was during the first SOS of the altcoin season, and this was your backup phase before going into your selling climax. One second. So you see this level returning back to this level after the blow off top, breaking below this level, and now gravitating back to it and getting rejected, followed by a 50% correction. That's not good. But what that tells me is this is a very important level to consider up here. You want to keep this level in mind if you are holding comp. Let's put it at 95. Compound. This ain't compounding you nothing but losses. Anyways, so yeah, this is a very crucial level. Once we break above that, that would be the true SOS. And then this could very quickly go to the 702. So this has a lot of room to the upside. If it was to do a full cycle and just even get back to a double top from where it's trading at right now, you're looking at about a 1,500% return buying today. So it's very speculative. I would call this venture capital. I would not put more than 2% in this project. It is horrible in regards to its performance comparatively to things like Ethereum and Binance token, even like regular top 10 market cap projects. This shit is down more than it was back in 2020. That'd be like Bitcoin trading back at like $5,000 or something. You know, like this is not good. Especially how far down it's trading versus where it was then. So it's been in perpetual loss. Barely 100% off of its selling climax, barely. Where's Bitcoin at? Just for kind of letting you know why. Bitcoin is at 300% since its cycle selling climax. Bitcoin. But this altcoin is, yeah, I rest my case. So this is not something I'm interested in. This is not a good chart. Not enough chart history. If there is more chart history than this, great. But still, it doesn't really change my stance on this performance since. But with venture capital, if it was to return back to all-time highs, you're looking at 1,500%. And this might be one of those projects that can only make it back into the golden pocket and then stalls out. We saw that happen with a lot of altcoins in the last cycle, so that's not me being bearish on it. It's just being honest. Let's go to Flare. Okay, so Flare, very limited chart data. We had this incredible pivot that happened on the solar eclipse pretty much, and then we went straight up into the next eclipse. So great performance, 500% from eclipse to eclipse. Made it into this golden pocket. Lots of chop. So we had a trend, and then once we got to this level, we started to have a little bit of chop. It's pretty normal now to consider a horizontal trading range. So I want you, if you're interested in this project, you want to draw out a horizontal trading range about there. So you have this 50%. So we got a 40% range right in here, and it's potentially gonna stick below the 0.5 fib, I'd imagine. Yeah, I'm gonna put one level here and turn it red so you could see what the hell I'm saying. Yeah, this is important. Very important level right here, guys, on Flare. Okay, so bounce, break, huge breakdown, gravitated up, resistance broke above. So if we could come back to this level, I would be a hard buy. Although not personally for me. I'm not interested in this. I think I have a bunch of it for free that I got with the airdrop, and it's being dropped on whatever cycle interval, but I don't really care. Yeah, this is not something I'm going to give too much of my energy to. And it looks like we're finally breaking below a very key level simultaneously with this particular trend line. So yeah, I think this has some room to build between 0 to 4 and where we're at right now. Daily closes below this level, weekly closes below this level would not look good. Yeah, we're about to close lower than every weekly candle since back in February. So I think that would denote that that's weakness, and coming to fill out the rest of this level over a couple of weekly closes is likely around this 0.5 fib. Let's go to Jupe. I love saying Jupe. Okay, so this is interesting. I shared this level right here at around 80 cents on Jupe, and we've tested it now with 2 daily candles. We got a little bit of a bounce after yesterday's liquidation ritual, but the fact that we came back into that level and tested that shows the analysis that I shared just last month was very crucial for this particular project. I decided to pick a little bit of it up. I think I got it 80 cents. I don't remember. It doesn't really matter because it's just venture capital anyways. I'm not going to split hairs over a 10-cent move up or down for an altcoin that I barely have much exposure to, but I decided to have a little bit of exposure to it due to its name and due to, just a couple of things that I've heard through the grapevine. But with this pullback so far, it's been about 60%. And when we have a 60% mid-cycle correction, I like to take advantage of those opportunities. So this has very limited chart history. I'm going to be honest. It's very speculative, and that's why it's only maybe 0.5 or 1% of my portfolio. I'm not putting too much in this particular project. But it's great to see this level be pierced through. For anybody that had any limit orders set, they definitely got triggered. And if we were to come a little lower, this would be the next area of interest around 66 cents. I just don't know if it could push down that much further. But what I could imagine is that we fill this wick that came in yesterday. So getting back into 80 is possible. Again, if you missed this and you want exposure to it, and I'm not saying you should, there's probably better plays out there. But yeah, this would probably fill out this wick, and that would also be in alignment with this golden pocket, this prior golden pocket. Now I'm going to double click and I'm going to see. Oh, it's already there. Actually, great. So this 4236, I have this marked already. Brilliant. So this would be telling us where our next likely big move to the upside is. And it's only about 200% higher. So this project is one of those that I'm really just, you never know because it has such limited data. You know, we saw this with Caspa where like it had a pullback and then it decided to go another leg up and then another healthy pullback and then it went another leg and just kept doing that over and over and over and over again. And the next thing you know, from wherever your entry was, this thing was thousands of percent higher than where you got in. So that could very well be how this sort of play goes. I'm not comparing the two projects. I'm just letting you know something that's happened before where it just goes bullish, it has a correction, and then it continues, and it's just like a stair step. That could very well be the case for this particular project due to what's going on in this time, the esoterica, the symbolism, etc. So I'm going to wrap up today's podcast here because this was a long one and we still have a lot to go leading into this weekly close later today, CME opening up, and everything that could be happening tomorrow when the stock market opens since this Iran-Israel conflict. We'll just have to wait and see, but I think you guys are more than prepared, and please rewatch and take notes on this if you didn't the first time around. It's so packed full of gems, and ask questions in the Discord if needed. I appreciate and love every single one of you, and I'm wishing you an amazing rest of your weekend in the Matrix. Much love.